Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Westborough. The purpose of this show, if you haven't seen it, my name is Art Bergeron. My day job, I do elder law at Myrick O'Connell, which is right here in Westborough. But the purpose of this show is this is not about elder law. It's about Frank and Mary, my make-believe couple whose goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And if you're here in Westborough, you want to be right here. You don't want to go to Northborough. You don't want to go to Marlborough. You want to be right here. And so in order to help you understand the people you need to know and the programs you need to know about, I've got this wonderful co-host, Shelby Marshall, everybody in Westborough seems to know. And she finds these great guests. Now, as you know, this is COVID-19 time, so we've been doing these shows special. We've been doing them once a week because we know life changes a lot during COVID-19. We may be changing that format in the future as things lighten up. But in the meantime, we wanted to really talk a little bit about the player that makes all of this happen, and the players, who are the folks at Westborough TV. But Shelby's going to introduce all of them. Shelby Marshall, my good friend.
Oh, good morning, Arthur. Thanks so much, and welcome to our viewers. So this is actually our third installment. If you follow along with Frank and Mary, or you want to follow along, you can go online and watch the shows. Aren't we doing we're doing one of those box sets too, so they could all we'll have these in DVD. Yeah, we'll be selling them, right?
Signed,
right, of course. Yep.
Signed. Proceeds to Westborough Cable, right?
Yeah, right. So we have on with us Chairman of the Board of Westborough TV, Steve Hart. And we also have the studio manager, Aidan Horrigan, who is always present with us on these shows, but he's behind the scenes and he keeps us on time and he makes sure that the quality of the show is delivered and helps us with all the technology and all of that. But for the past two shows, we had Steve and Karen on, and we've been talking a lot about local access television, why it's so important, how it's evolved. And so this is the third in that series. And we're so excited to have both of these awesome guys on with us today. So welcome back. And Aidan, you're always here with us, so welcome again.
Yeah, it's nice to finally be to seen, you know.
This is great. And before we continue with the show, a quick round of applause for Aidan, who's made this happen now for like over a year.
I think we're supposed to do this. I think this is like the quiet applause or something I've seen on Zooms
Great.
And all.
Thank you.
Anyway, so we left, where we last left our show, we were talking about, kind of all the work that Westborough TV has done. We talked about how Massachusetts as a state has invested and kind of legislated monies being allocated to local access TV, if I'm saying that correctly. And we started to talk about the crystal ball of kind of Westborough TV. And so I'm going to really turn it over to Steve and Aidan and just give us a sense of where is Westborough TV going and how do sort of these past 4 to 5 months, maybe kind of inform that in a different way.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everybody. It's a really good question and one that challenges myself, Karen, and the entire board sort of on a daily basis. So, when we look into the crystal ball, I'm not sure, a bit like the fairground gypsy, if I can use that phrase, that who knows what we're going to get. But I think first of all, is to step back slightly from the future and say, first of all, we have to protect what we have. We have to ensure that what we have is fit for purpose, but also looking to the future, what can we do to improve? And that's why we've invited Aidan along this morning to talk a little bit more about that. But I think there's 2 or 3 things that are really interesting. One of the things I think, Arthur, you referenced last week was the senior population that, it really makes up a considerable number of our audience, particularly on cable TV. And I reflected on that and I thought, hey, there's something that we are very proud of at Westborough TV, and that's how we involve the young people in town. And so, when I start to think about that, I look at the interns that we have on an annual basis. I look at the young people that come into summer camps, and you may have experienced that, Arthur, if you've ever come in during the summer to do a recording. You're probably wading your way through hordes of young people really enjoying themselves and really getting stuck in and involved. And I think one of the challenges we have is how do we actually ensure that those young people today become our viewers, our community of the future. And so just thinking about that, one of the things Karen and I are talking about is almost is actually about having almost a young people's, a Westborough TV alumni of young people that we can reach out to and say, hey, would you like to be our think tank? Would you like to be our focus group? Because I have to tell you that, I think I referenced it last week, if you think about Facebook, we didn't know that Facebook existed 6 or 7 years ago. It was Tim Novak who brought it along to us and said, I think this is probably a good vehicle for us to actually adopt. I don't know about the vehicles of the future. I don't know about how we're going to communicate in the future, but I'll guarantee you the best people to ask are the people who are actually doing it right now. And so I think it's really important that we think about bringing those people on board to help us in that crystal ball gazing and help give us a direction for the future.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Steve. I hadn't thought about it when you position it that way. You're right. We do have so many young people bringing content forward behind the scenes, very interested, and yet we really think about our viewership as a mature, whatever that age is, call it 50 plus, right?
Yeah.
Those are the people that are watching it because they're parents or they're seniors or whatever the case may be. But it's brilliant. Really, it is. I mean, to think about where is this going and how do we engage those individuals to really inform that?
Yeah, Aidan, I don't know. You obviously are, when those young people come in, you're the link. You and Jeff and Karen are not just the mentors, but the guides. You learn from those people. What do you think about how do we use those people today, those youngsters today?
Well, the great thing is that we've been doing summer camps and always trying to connect with the schools, and the great thing that we see is the younger generation that does come in and see what we do in our studio is always so connected. They put their all into the things that they do with us, which is a great thing to see.
Yeah, and I think
from your perspective, I'm just curious, Steve, from your perspective, because you're seeing them all the time, and of course, to us, you're young, to them, you're old, right? And so, who is this old guy who is working at Westborough Cable, and he's still got, he's losing his hair and the blah, blah, blah. So, but from your perspective, watching them, how are they thinking about taking the technologies that you're using all the time, or that they're using all the time, and incorporating Westborough Cable? Because I think that's kind of the interesting question is, I definitely don't know. You know way more than us, but we all agree that they know way more than any of us because of where it's going. So I'm just curious about how they're thinking, from your sense, how are they thinking about it?
And I would add to that, as Aidan responds, that they're not only taking the technology and then the platform, if you will, of Westborough TV, but then kind of the social aspect of their world, and how do those elements converge?
Yeah, they definitely keep us on our toes on the new technology side. They come in and they have ideas that we may never have even thought of. So it is nice to see every single time we have a new group of kids, the new ideas, the new show ideas or video ideas that they might have, or they might show us a new app that they like or that they've been using. My favorite thing is when a student comes in and kind of shows us what they've been doing on their own, just with the technology that they've found, and it's amazing. It looks great. It sounds great. They're leaps and bounds ahead of us, and they keep us kind of striving to become better.
Yeah, I think also just picking up on the technology side that people are used to nowadays, that kids are using, that technology, I think, is going to enable much more sort of feet on the street. We're not even needing to come into Westborough TV and learn how to use a camera and set up a tripod. They're just going to be shooting the video and sending it to us.
Right. Here, here it is. It's almost like, I think we might have, speaking of technology, we might have lost Arthur, but hopefully he'll be back. I almost think, I wonder do they come into the studio, and not to go down a rabbit hole, but they come in and they're sort of like, wow, why do we need this studio? Because I've got everything I need here. I've got the person I'm engaging with, or I'm the interviewing myself, and I have everything I need in my hands. So, and it really changes even the lens through which the viewer is seeing that information.
Yeah. So that's that. So back to that. The young people, I think, are core to our future, in the sense of our future thinking. But Aidan, we've also been investing in technology as we go along. I mean, this is not new. Westborough TV, as I mentioned last week, has had some really good stewardship, has invested wisely. But even today, when we're putting more into the technology, what can you tell us about that?
So some of the things that we're looking for the future is being able to increase the services that we offer in our studio. So we were talking about how some kids might come in and say, oh, well, why do I need this in here? Well, I have the phone that can record and edit and that kind of stuff. So we're always looking for how to make the quality and the services, the amount of services that we offer bigger, the better quality and more services. So on the studio side, we're putting in a new switcher and a new control room to be able to run our studio when we finally get back in there after COVID. But we're putting in a new switcher so that we'll be able to do things like green screen, and it's going to have a new audio board for adding services like podcasting, which is becoming bigger, and people can just listen to their podcasts as they go. We've started to do a few of those, as well as using the space for more than just a television studio. So we're looking to make it a space that you could come in if you have a local band and you want to record something. You can come in and record that and master it and walk out with a CD or a file that you feel proud of. So that's on the studio side. And it's just, I feel happy when I think about, the future and where we're going as Westborough TV.
Yeah, I think those are good points, Aidan. Thank you. And also, don't forget, we've just invested in a brand new road system, which gives us the capacity, for all of that and more besides. And I think, looking to the future, Arthur, as we're talking about today, who knows what it will hold? But I talked about sort of local newspapers last week and how they've regionalized. And I just have to say to myself, well, will that happen with local access TV? Will every town, currently we talked about, I think you mentioned about 340 out of 351 towns have a station right now. Will they be there post-COVID? Will they be there in the future? I don't know. But I think the need will be there. And so myself and the board are saying, well, okay, if that need is there, are we equipped to be able to help out, to step in and maybe address that need for other towns other than Westborough? And the answer is, in my opinion, yes. So it's that sort of future-proofing, looking ahead. It may never happen, but if it does, then we may be able to take that opportunity. I think the other thing that
I think that's a really interesting notion, and it may very well be, because I was thinking about it too, as after you talked about it last week, and it may very well be that you're as opposed to they're ending up with one kind of dominant station and the others evaporating, that this may be an ideal place where people are really sharing, because there's as you may know, I do shows in Southborough and Northborough and in Marlborough and in Hopkinton, in this area. There's a lot of talent there. Now, not as good as Westborough, I understand, but there's a lot of talent there. And so the notion of developing, of everybody together constituting a center for innovation, where people are doing different things and seeing what works, just sounds like a great idea. Just a great idea.
I really think it's one that we need to continually consider, to look at, and to look for those avenues. I think the other thing, apart from the technology and apart from our master plan of making sure we're fit for purpose, is we don't know what the future is going to bring in terms of the financing. The model is, as we've talked about, is that the cable companies, in our case, Charter and Verizon, pay a modest amount for the use of the infrastructure here in town, and that goes to fund Westborough TV. Part of that is that we get 3 channels on each of those. So we have 24, 26, 28 on Verizon, and you'd have to remind me, Aidan, of the Charter ones. But okay, so we've got those channels, and are they going to, under the legislation, should it pass, are they going to be able to say, well, much as the existing contract is, we have to give you those, now we are able to charge for them? That's something we don't know. My opinion on that is, okay, that's a negotiation to be had if it happens. I actually, right now, Karen and I talk about this together with the board, and we say, well, okay, come the time, do we actually need 3 channels? Do we go down to 2? Do we actually say, rather than having 3, and maybe they say, hey, each of those is 100,000 a year? Do we say, fine, we're going to save 100,000 at least by going down to 2, but you give us HD for one of them or both of them? Do we say, does the town say, okay, but guess what? The cost of our infrastructure has gone up in the meanwhile. So there's a lot to be negotiated. And we also have the state, as you know, looking at different legislation as to whether it might in time tax the internet providers in a different manner, as some states have done. I think Massachusetts stepped back from that first time round because pre-COVID, the situation in Massachusetts was that the state was relatively financially sound. Who knows what's going to happen post-COVID, and somebody may say, let's revisit that and see if we can raise some money. So I really, much as I would love to talk about all of that and be definitive, no way can I or any of us on this program do that. What I can say, though, is that I think, through the town's cable committee that's again being set up because we're entering negotiations with Verizon, we have the opportunity, as a community, to actually talk to Verizon to say, okay, this is what we have right now. Here are things that we might want as part of the future. What's that? How does that pan out with you? What's it going to cost? What's the situation? And I really, through this program and any other avenue, really urge people to think about getting involved with that committee just by contacting Christy Williams, the town manager. There's still seats available. I don't think we haven't yet had our first meeting, and I'm not quite sure who the chair is going to be, Shelby, but I'm sure we'll
think of someone.
Yeah, we'll think of someone fairly soon.
We'll think of someone. So I wanted to.
Yeah, sorry, carry on, because there's just so much that one could say, but it's all conjecture.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add, because I know this is really fascinating. I think it's very important, and it's a great intro for folks to be involved in that negotiation. But I want to kind of add kind of an editorial kind of comment and question, which is going back to what we talked about last week. My view of this, the reason why I really believe in this, and as you know, I'm on the cable committee, in far away Nantucket, which sounds like, by the way, oh my God, it's Nantucket with a ton of money. But the average income in Nantucket is really not substantial. I mean, you can't buy a house there, but that's because the money flies in and flies out. So the folks there are just the folks, like the folks here. And one of the things we talk about there a lot and it's certainly apropos in every community, is with the kind of disintegration of the print media. In the long run, if we don't have these stations, there will be no place where you can have a community conversation about anything unless you're all going to the meeting, and who can do that, So in the longer run, and the reason why I mention that is as we know, one of the questions that you and Karen raised before was this whole question of people now so-called cutting the cable, and therefore not paying one of the big cable operators, and therefore your revenue going down. And I think for me, in the longer run, to the extent that ends up being a significant number, at some point the town has to step in. The communities have to step in order to maintain the viability of this communications thing, because this is not about a couple little cute programs like ours, which are very cute, and a number of others. This is about maintaining a mechanism to maintain your community. Yeah. And folks have been able to do that kind of for nothing to this point, but in the longer run, I think one of the things COVID has illustrated, this is an essential community activity, right?
Absolutely. And again, this is where I think that the town benefits from the decisions made previously. The fact that the money from the cable companies comes directly to Westborough TV through a pass-through has enabled us to put an extraordinary amount of money into our assets. It's not just about, paying salaries and wages, etc., but we really do look to our assets and say, how is it that we can, what is it we can do to ensure our future, whatever that future might be? And you're absolutely right, Arthur, because, we may end up, we know our current budget and income, that is reducing every year, and we're seeing an almost 5% drop in income per annum from these companies. Let us make sure that in the meanwhile, though, we use that money wisely so that, we can sort of say, okay, where can we reduce going forwards? Well, we've got everything we need for now. Will be one of those discussions to be had. And so right. The fact that we are investing right now isn't just because we've got money to spend. We're actually investing for the future, whatever it might hold.
And if I could add something to that, I believe all of the investments that we're making are towards one goal. It's to make sure that we're able to cover as many town events, government meetings, school concerts as we can, and do it with the increasing quality to deliver the best product that we can to the citizens of Westborough.
Yeah, absolutely, Aidan. And the fact that I think increasingly, we are playing out important programs live. People are actually getting that real-time information. I know Shelby probably hates it when there's there could be an item on the town meeting that might just sort of attract a lot of attention. That I know some folks just sit and watch Westborough TV until we get to that item, and then everybody descends on the high school to attend and vote. But you know what? That's democracy. Yep. And the fact that we are giving people that real-time information, we're allowing them to make decisions, we're informing them. And as I think I said last week, I really feel, as I not just talk around town, but it's important to listen to people around town. We, I think, are very much now part of the collective, part of the community. We are seen as an integral part of the jigsaw when it comes to what's going on around Westborough, and long may that last.
Well, and I'll sort of transition in the time that we have left. First of all, I want to thank you, Steve and Aidan, for being on today's show and sort of rounding out this first part of our collection of Westborough TV discussions. And Arthur and I look forward to working with the station and the community to bring forward that public conversation as we enter into contract negotiations. And yours truly was just appointed last night by the board to be on the Cable Advisory Committee. So I'm very...
yeah. This is big. This is big.
Big news. But no, I'm very excited to be working on that.
Another pay increase. Yep. On top of that selectman salary. This is big.
But in as an example of bringing important community discussions, the town seal and the proposed idea of changing the town seal is at the forefront of the community. The Board of Selectmen talked about that last night, and we'll be having public meetings about that. But next week on our show, we'll have Dr. Tony Vaver, who is our town historian and archivist, come on and talk about the history of the town seal. And again, it's important that that information is factual and it's unbiased, and it's just delivering content for people to chew on and contemplate and then circulate in their own circles so that they're informed when and if ultimately this goes to town meeting for a vote, which, I fully anticipate whether the Board of Selectmen bring it or a citizen's petition brings it, it will be on a future town meeting warrant. So with that, Arthur, have a great vacation.
And that is a great point. That is exactly the point of these shows and of cable TV, to have that discussion. You're not just hearing it on social media and blah, blah, blah from the two sides, but you're getting real facts, real information that everybody hears. So thank you very much, Steve. Thank you, Aidan, again, for being on our show.
Thank you.
Shelby, once again, thanks for always orchestrating on this. By the way, your hair looks terrific, by the way. I just wanted to mention
that. Get it cut.
And I'm away for 2 weeks, not on Nantucket, but on that other island. But in the meantime, I know you'll be doing a great job, and I'm looking forward to being back. And thank you, folks, for watching. I hope you were at least entertained and hopefully informed by this show once again. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Westborough, the COVID-19 edition. Thank you.